Okay, start.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Tejashvi and I am here to present two case studies. The first one is on ecological succession in Sahara. Sorry, ma'am. I think this is stuck actually. Okay.
Yeah, it's दिख रहा है.
Yeah. When we hear Sahara Desert, this is the image that comes to mind. But if you go back in time to about 14,000 years, this is the Sahara you would see. So, what happened that this lush green grassland became this barren desert? Well, it all started with a change in the Earth's tilt, which ushered in the beginning of African humid period around 14,500 years ago. Due to this change in the tilt, the northern hemisphere received up to 4% more heat than it does today, thus warming it up. Now, when one of the hemispheres warm up, powerful wind currents are attracted towards it. These winds bring moisture with them. So there was an increase in the African monsoon period, resulting in the spread of savannas from Central Africa, which is here, to the northern reaches of the continent, that is to Sahara. As grasses flourished, they held soil moisture better and reduced albedo, making the climate even wetter. Then the Earth's tilt changed again, leading to a decrease in the rainfall. However, this does not mean that the savanna became a barren wasteland in just a few years. It was a process that spanned centuries. Pollen studies show the gradual change in the ecosystem, from grassland species like Peleostigma, Mitracarpus, Spermacoci, and ferns being the dominant vegetation to expansion of hardy plants typically found in semi-desert environments like Boerevia, acacia, and balanites, we can see how the land progressively became more arid. Now
तेजस्वी
we are,
कैमरा जस्ट ऑन कर दो ना.
ma'am, actually मैंने किया है, but I don't think it's working.
Okay, fine. Continue.
Now we have established that the Sahara was green during the African humid period. However, if we go back even further in time to pre-humid period Sahara, you would find that it was drier than its current condition, which is to say something, since Sahara is the hottest desert on Earth today. Back then, precipitation levels were lower and the desert extended 500 to 800 kilometers farther south than it does today. We know the pattern of precipitation by studying deep sea sediments off the coast of Mauritania. The concept is very simple. When the land is dry and has little vegetation, more of the topsoil is blown away by the wind and deposited in the seabed. When we study these seabeds and note a higher influx of dust, it indicates that the land was drier. And then when there's less dust, it means the land was wetter. Thus, Sahara was first a desert, then it became green, and then it became a desert again. And even more interestingly, this cycle is just one of the most recent ones out of the 230 cycles that have occurred in the past 8 million years. Lastly, I would like to mention that while the change from this to this was mainly due to climatic factors, hence the term allogenic succession, desertification in the recent cycle happened far more rapidly than it should have if orbital changes were solely responsible. An answer to this mystery came in the form of a Saharan cave art. It shows humans along with domestic animals. Now we can all guess what happened. Overgrazing. That is to say, even without humans, Sahara would still have become a desert, but we just hastened the process. Now that we know it's a cycle, we can predict that Sahara will become green once again in about 15,000 years or in 17,000 CE. But of course, factoring in human interventions, this may change. These were our main references for this video, for this presentation. Thank you.
Okay.
And my second case study is about ecological succession in the Great Run of Kutch. It is again a desert, but the pattern of succession here is a little bit different from the previous one. I guess we have all heard about the Run of Kutch, given the famous Ran Utsav that's organized here annually. But as a basic introduction, Kutch is a district in Gujarat state of India. It is bound by the Great Run of Kutch on the north and Little Run in the east. The word run is derived from Sanskrit Irilam, which means desert. It was originally a vast shallow of Arabian Sea. The biggest evidence for this is that a large number of marine fossils have been discovered in this region. Also, more than 60 major Harappan sites have been excavated around the Run of Kutch. These include port towns like Saran near Dholavira and Todio in Abrasa Taluka, which indicate the rich maritime history of the region and also that the desert was once a part of the sea. Now, Kutch has always been prone to earthquakes, and so, due to tectonic activity, there was a geological uplift, meaning a portion of the land rose up, resulting in the run being cut off from the sea and becoming a lake. It was noted to be still navigable during the visit of the Greek conqueror Alexander in around 325 BCE. The run has formed from years of silting, as it was once a part of the Indus Delta. Indus Delta here refers to the region where the Indus River or Sindhu Nadi breaks off into various tributaries before it meets the ocean. Some of these tributaries once flowed through the run, but now they have either dried up or have been cut off due to earthquakes. Today, the run is a seasonal salt marsh, inundated by seawater from the Gulf of Kutch and the Arabian Sea during high tides. So, succession here started with the run as a part of the sea and home to marine creatures like brachiopods, belemnites, and corals. It then progressed to become a navigable lake that had fishes, sponges, and starfishes. Finally, it is a desert today, which supports a large variety of reptiles and halophytes like Cressa cretica, Sueda species, Cenchrus ciliaris, etc. Seismic activity and fluctuations of sea level were the main driving factors here. And since both of these are external, the pattern of succession here is of allogenic type. These were my main references for this case study. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, good, Tejasvi.